Welcome into the crypto bunker. Um, Looking at the market, and obviously, it's if you've been following me on Twitter, um, it's definitely pretty crazy out there. Hopefully, you guys aren't completely wrecked here. I'm looking at the Coinbase chart here. We can just go through some of the charts, but yeah, Coinbase is down 26% pre-market. It basically went to zero. Um, Bitcoin is crashing. It actually went all the way down to 25.3 overnight, which to me tells me that there actually might be more to come than previously thought. I mean, there was a level, obviously there's a pretty major level at the 21.8 region on the weekly. That's the SMA, as well as the 0.78 down there at that level. So I am definitely looking for it to come down. I mean, I hope that, you guys at least heard me when I said my base case has always been at least 20K here, or I said the 20 SMA. I mean, you can go back to most of my videos. Um, I'm probably the only person who gave out, um, gold, the gold ETH ratio, in like January, February. And that's done really well. And, um, you know, basically none of what I ever say is financial advice. I always say that. I try to tell people, like, averaging slowly here. We're in a deep bear market. Obviously, you can take, calculated risks of where you think things might be bottoming, but then you have, times like this where things just get crazy. But we did reach our target here. So I have been saying for a while that we will get a 1-to-1 ratio on gold and ETH. And we outperformed already, where we went to 1.08. And I do expect it to go higher. I definitely think the 1.38's in play. And at this point, I think we could even hit the 2.64. And, that would be interesting for sure. I would have to see. I mean, yeah, I think, if gold stayed at the same level, which is around 1850, then ETH would have to be 700 to get to that top level, which I think is possible. There are a few levels that we can watch out for ETH. I definitely think that the weekly SMA is in play here, which is around 1200, old all-time highs for sure. And that's kind of where this level is, 1448. We'll catch support there, but and then I have, none of this is really like, I think, like, if we lose that 14, like the 1,000 isn't like that great of support. As you can see, there's not like too much there. I mean, we could go back and sort of make it like that as support, or maybe around that, yeah, like 850. But down here, there's a lot more support, obviously, at the 450 range. So again, I don't want to freak anyone out, but this is the type of stuff that is possible in a bear market. This is just the beginning, sort of like falling off a cliff. Obviously, we could chop, but a lot of these coins are completely crushed. And, to be honest, I feel bad that I was saying to start, I was starting to talk about different coins. And, I try to preface it with just saying, like, hey, this is just for fun. This isn't financial advice. This is, we're in a deep bear market as my base case scenario. You know, Everyone should have gold, which is holding up really well. But this is something else. I mean, what we saw happen to UST, and Terra. We can look at those charts, obviously. Luna is one of the biggest cryptos in the industry. It was like a top 10 coin. Um, and it's pretty crazy to see what has happened here to Luna. It went to zero, and it's really crazy because it was really like the most outperforming coin. It's actually at zero. Um, wow, which is crazy. I mean, it's a log chart too. Um, so that's actually what it looks like. Um, yeah, this is one of the most popular coins. And so what we have to, look at here is who owned Luna, which is, believe me, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of retail. A lot of retail owned UST. A lot of retail owned Luna. Um, and they're completely wrecked. They lost their life savings on the stable coin. There's people who, they thought that, they followed the Do Kwon guy into the fire, basically. And I've never promoted Luna one time on this channel. I never promoted UST one time on this channel. There was a time back in the day that I might have used UST in like DeFi, maybe like, a year ago or something. Um, in the mirror protocol or whatever, but luckily I never really looked at that as a long-term thing, I guess. And I never really knew what UST was back then. Um, but in the past year or so, I've learned more about it. And obviously would never promote any of that stuff to you guys because that was super risky. Um, we're in the middle of a capitulation bear, and the people who owned, Luna, um, again, these funds like Pantera, Arca, all these crypto funds, right? Like Alameda, you know, um, um, Horowitz, Andreessen Horowitz, all these funds most likely own Luna. Um, and so they're getting margin called here, right? So they have to sell their Ethereum because Ethereum is used for collateral for a lot of these loans that they probably got called on. So they're obviously selling every altcoin they have. I mean, we can look at some of these alts that I've talked about. I'm never like promoting coins. I'm just talking about them, trying to give you guys information. Um, sometimes I can sound bullish, and sometimes I am bullish, but that doesn't mean that I'm telling you to go buy something or not. That's totally up to you and your decision. And I hope that if you follow this channel, you probably are less wrecked than a lot of people are right now. So, um, this is UST. This is a stable coin um, that has crashed. And this is going to be used against us for regulation purposes. So the government, the Treasury has already mentioned, Janet Yellen has already mentioned UST the day it was crashing. She talked about it in her testifying before Congress. So they're going to use this to try to ban all stable coins. They probably will allow USDC to exist. And that will be the only one because that is going public. And so I actually think that there's a chance that USDC can become the global, the basically the US currency because it has the testing, obviously it has all the regulation requirements, things like that. So, but to do that, they're going to have to ban all the other coins. And the issue is that that really affects the market big time. Um, that could cause like a deep bear, where we do reach those like 400 levels I talked about, in that scenario for ETH, because um, a lot of these stable coins are used to buy up these assets, and the leverage that we see in the system is really high, and that's because people borrow these stable coins, then they buy, and DAI, which is a stable coin, is backed by 50% USDC. So if the government comes in and tells Circle to, that they have to not allow that, like they can do that. So it's possible that a lot of these things go underground. They could be deemed illegal. I mean, I think that hopefully we are like grandfathered in, the people who have used DeFi and all these different protocols. Um, but I think that, that season of sort of, doing crazy stuff in DeFi and getting crazy yields and all that stuff like that, that seems over to me. I think it's all about just picking an asset or two at this point and just sticking with it. Maybe DCAing into ETH, looking to stake it in the future, just kind of going slowly, because I think that we're in like a long, deep bear for sure. There's no way that we just like bounce, and this is like, I don't even think we've started necessarily the total capitulation yet. I do think that this level's in play, for Bitcoin, the 14K. Um, that's like where we have the most support, probably around 10K, or 12, I should say here. So somewhere around there, I think is possible as well. So and at that point, a lot of these companies go bust, and the difference with this cycle is that everyone is in it. Everyone got involved in this. Um, it's not like 2017 where it was just, a few people, and they pumped the price up with Tether, and it was like all, crazy Mount Gox stuff and um, stuff like that. Like, this is like institutional investors. This is retail investors. Um, this is everybody. So, you know, um, it's unfortunate. And, um, we can look at some of these coins that I've been looking at. Obviously, been saying to average into. Look, I mean, guys, this is up to you. Like, I'm not, financial advisor, obviously. Um, but I said like we could definitely reach the 547. Looks like we pretty much have, or at least almost did. Um, so we're definitely going there at this point. I mean, we could come all the way down to the lows, like the lowest it's ever been, 348 at this point. No doubt about it. But this really was like a capitulation here. And if you do believe in Polkadot long term, obviously you would want to average in here. For me, to be honest, like, I've gotten out of these, and I feel bad again that, I didn't tell you guys directly at the time. Um, it's really hard to make these decisions like in the moment. But once I started to see it crash, I had to decide, and people live busy lives, and things are happening so fast. It's hard to make videos on this stuff like in real time. It really is. Um, there's a lot going on in my life and in other people's lives, and not everyone can just jump on and make a video all the time. I mean, I try to post on Twitter more often than making a video. But I think for me, I'm just gonna stick with ETH. Just stake my ETH, just keep it staked forever, and just kind of see what happens. Just keep earning that ETH, because I do think that to try to gain network effects in this bear and then coming out of it is going to be really hard. There's going to be less retail participants for a network like Polkadot that is just, opening up. That's just starting out. like where are they going to get these participants? A lot of people are going to leave. A lot of these protocols built on Polkadot, might have been built too late. I had said that like a few months back. I thought Polkadot sort of built a lot of this stuff too late, but then they kind of changed my mind because they, all of a sudden all these things popped up all these projects. So, we can look at this as well. I was talking about, the potential for 50 cents, Matic as well. And, you can see, we did reach that level even lower, which is insane. So it's crazy because I think that like this is bad. Like this isn't like normal. This is hedge funds in the industry blowing up. In traditional finance, in crypto land, um, people just blowing up here, and they have to sell anything they have. And that happens to be obviously any crypto. Even gold sometimes gets hit in these scenarios, but man, is gold holding up well. I really like gold here, and we could capitulate, I'll admit it, you know, um, and then we'd have a lot of work to do. If we lost this level where we're at right now, we would have a ton of work to do. Um, and I'm okay with that, you know. I'm okay with being able to accumulate gold in this range for a longer period of time. But it's time to, for me, it's time to rotate into gold and gold miners. Gold is the best performer when inflation is high and bond yields are low. Right now, there's a 5% negative real rate carry on a bond. So in that scenario, usually people would hold gold instead. A lot of these countries are insolvent and they're not going to pay back their debt. And so it's hard to own a bond, in this environment. Bonds are crashing. They have been. Um, Bonds are more for deflationary. And I think that we're in a heightened inflationary, um, market here. So again, I think that gold looks really good here. There's a lot of support at these levels. Historically, if we look at sort of this diagonal here, obviously, we're kind of coming into these. We're also coming into the 20 SMA again, which is really where we've pretty much caught support this whole time. So you can say the bull really started back in July 18, where we flipped these around, and then now we're in the zone that we want to be in with the averages. This is just like a scenario that I personally think is possible. I think this is a long-term bull, but I think that I don't think this is out of the question. Potentially if we get higher inflation in these environments. And so that's kind of what I thought is possible. And in that scenario, and this is, you can take these flyers, on some of these gold miners, like Equinox Gold. I mean, you can see these are down at like levels that, we're talking like March 2020 levels here for some of these gold miners that are trading at, what would be maybe like $1,000 gold. This company is run by one of the best CEOs in the mining industry, Equinox Gold Corp. Ross Beatty, who's a legend. He's also was the CEO of Pan American Silver, which is a one that really outperformed. And this is kind of his swan song. He says this is like his last mine that he's going to put together. Just some of the ones I like to look at, the majors, obviously Wheaton Precious Metals. We can see is is holding up pretty well here, and not down at those March 2020 levels. But Agnico Eagle, uh, is sort of down at these levels. Like if you would have, missed this bottom and you were just figuring gold out, which was kind of where I was at, like I was buying even above the level that we're at now a few years ago. And to think that all of the things that have happened in the world and all the inflation that has hit us, um, I think there will be a point at some point where people will say, hey, stocks aren't working anymore. And we're still experiencing above 4% inflation. And the Fed can't raise rates above 4%, or they will crash the entire economy into a depression. And so if they can't raise above 3 or 4%, and inflation stays above 4%, that's a negative real rate on a bond carry. And you would want to own gold. And we know that China, has been stacking gold. We know Russia, has been stacking gold, the other superpowers of the world. We know India, people love their gold there. Other countries, the Saudis, the Arab Emirates, obviously. I mean, they're sitting back and they were just thinking about getting into Bitcoin. I mean, are they going to look at Bitcoin here? I mean, I think there are people who are de-dollarizing right now, even though the dollar is doing really well. People are running for dollars, but I think over the longer term, depending on geopolitical situations, I do think that gold will outperform the dollar in the next, decade for sure. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And if we can get gold to 3,000 or 4,000, these gold miners are going to rip and basically make life-changing gains for people. So those are just a few of the gold miners. We can look at some smaller ones like Anglo Gold. And these are the ones that, for me, they're trading at lower price to earnings ratios. So that's the reason I was looking at these. Like Anglo Gold, for example, is trading at like a 12-to-1 price to earnings. And, um, you know, usually in a bear market in stocks, you want companies that are between like a 10 and 20 price to earnings. New Gold is trading at 6.04. We have Goldfields trading at 13.3. We have DRD Gold trading at 9.37. Equinox is trading at 3 price to earnings ratio, etc. Essentially, B2 Gold Corp is trading at 10. SSR Mining is trading at 11. So these are just some of the names, and these are holding up pretty well. If we look at just the general proxy for gold miners, which is the GDX, we're decent. Sorry for all the lines, but yeah, we're decent there. I mean, I've talked about silver as well. Silver's crashing. You probably will reach these 19 levels, 1950, sort of like those levels. I'm cool with it. I mean, I truly believe that the Fed cannot stop inflation. I know that I follow farmers. I follow people who are putting food in the ground. There is no fertilizer. People are not planting corn. Corn goes into so many products, so many things. It goes into animal feed. It goes into many products. So, there's going to be issues next harvesting season. And so that food inflation is only going to go up from here for the foreseeable future, I think, for the next like decade. So for me personally, I'm focused on, okay, if food inflation is going to be high, and also energy inflation is going to be high from the oil, because the Democrats don't want us to put holes in the ground because of environmental concerns. So, people aren't going to drill and we need that oil for the foreseeable future. We're not at a point where we can just switch to renewables. So, uh, I think there's a potential that uranium could be a good play. There are uranium stocks that are back to some levels that I like, um, as well. So you could take a shot on some of these. Obviously, none of this is financial advice, but anyway, inflation is going to be high. So, um, to me, that tells me if inflation stays high for long enough and people give up hope on like stocks, and gold starts to run, silver will run last. So commodities will run for a few years, gold will start to run, and then silver will run absolutely last. And that's when you know that it's over, the cycle is over. So I do still think we could see $75 to $100 silver. Some of these silver mines are, you know, crazy cheap. So is a good one. That's back to levels that again probably is pretty good support in that range. Um, we did see, I think Samsung just bought a uranium company potentially. So a lot of information in this episode. Hopefully you guys got something out of the video. If you did, please like, subscribe. This is the last thing I'll give here. None of this financial advice, obviously. But yeah, UEC and UU are two of the uranium companies that I like to look at. So with that being said, hopefully you guys got something out of it, like I said. And have a great day.